All right, dudes. So, yeah. Well, fucking. First of all, this is when I got over the summer with my when I got the new job and shit. This is it's the last one I'm gonna get for a long time. I just thought you might. I want to see Les Paul with a Floyd Rose. My two favorite kind of things. Put in one. It's kind of most of the time you don't see Les Paul with a Floyd, so yeah. Thought it was cool. Like the color. Anyway. So yeah, since it's got a Floyd, I can show you. So first, well, yeah, you can do this first. So the locking nut, you need the Allen wrench. It's the same thing we talked about last time. It's like 2.5 or 3 millimeter, something like that. I think it's 2.5, but you've probably already messed around with it before. I'm sure y'all have it. I mean, it's the same one that went in the back that that Clayton found that one time when we were having that trouble when I brought it over first. So you want to go up here to the locking nut, and this time, remember how I said last time, there's no reason to take them all the way off. If you're restringing it, I think some people do it without taking them off, but it's a lot actually easier if you just do take them all the way off. So all you need to do is just get them loose, and then you can just finger loosen them. Now here's something really important. When you're taking these off, you want to make sure that this one goes right back here because there's 3 of them. You want to make sure that each of them go back in the exact same position. Like this. See, that's the first. If you can see, this one is the first 2 strings. Each one locks down 2 strings. You want to make sure that it goes back the exact same alignment and the exact same one. You don't want it turned around either. So what I would recommend is you take one at a time, you set it aside, and you set them down in the exact position that they are. And the reason for that is because each string is, a different width, different size. And you want it to lock it down as tightly and properly as you can. So if you end up switching this around to where the one that's supposed to lock down the 6th string is locking down the 2nd string, it may already be too worn down to really properly do that. So, it may not be a huge deal, but it's just something I would highly recommend doing. And you'll probably find that it'll stay in tune better and last longer, your locking nut. So anyway, it's pretty quick. Just get them off. And now the tuners will work freely and you don't need these. So first thing you want to probably do is make sure these are all about, midway, because you don't want it all the way down or all the way up. And the reason for that is once you're tightened back up, you want to have room for the fine tuners. You can do that later. It's just before you lock this back down. What I usually do, you don't technically have to do this, but I usually put something, and what I use is a bunch of picks, and it's really pretty ghetto, but I put a bunch of picks behind the bridge, under what touches the routed out part here, to the point where it'll stay about level. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to do this again, but if you have something that will work as that, I would recommend doing it. I would also recommend it's something that just goes in there, that doesn't scratch up your finish. It's really up to you. But I would recommend putting something back here. And don't be afraid about the picks, because they'll just fall out. Like once you just jiggle them out, and they'll come out. It doesn't have to be exact. Okay, I still got too much leeway. That'd probably work. Let's throw one more on there. It can be coming back forward or back slightly, and again, you actually don't even have to do that. All right, that's about right. The reason why you do that is because when you're, again, not mandatory, but when you're taking one off, since there's less tension coming from the strings, your bridge is going to go back, and it's also going to tighten all the rest of your strings. It's going to sharpen them. And see, watch this. Even though there's not much leeway here, there's some in the back, so watch. You hear how both of those, when I started loosening this one, both of those went sharp? It's because it's a tension balance thing. And I think I talked about that in the other video. But so it just kind of helps keep everything level. You don't really have to do it, because eventually you'd be able to, but it just makes it a little easier, I think, in the long run. If you don't have one of these, a string winder, you probably want to get one or order one. They're real cheap. Usually like no more than $5, and even that's probably more than you need to pay. You don't really need it. You can just do it like this, but you'll be there all day just cranking on it. This is really, really quick. You can just spin it around, like, see, watch. Can you see that? It just grabs the thing, and then you can just move it really quickly. Again, not mandatory, but makes it easier. And you just want to get it loose where there's no real tension on it. Okay, now to the fun stuff. All right, move this where you can really see it. So you know these things right here in the back, not the tuners, but what's behind the tuners. These little fun things right here, those are Allen screws, same size as your locking nut. So what you do is the string that you've just loosened, and only that one, because if you loosen these, it's gonna, and you'll see what I mean. So just loosen it. Yep. What that's gonna do is the little thing right here, it loosens that little thing that like holds the string in, the little black thing. It's gonna loosen that. It'll move it back. And especially for the thicker strings, you want to loosen it rather significantly so that when you put a new one in, there's enough room for it to go in. And I'll show you that in a sec. So now we've loosened it, pulled the string out of the saddle, which I'll show you what it is. You can probably tell just by the name of it what the saddle is. Yep, just take it out and get your new string. Is this the right freaking gauge? Jesus Christ. That looks too damn thick. Hang on. Yeah, that's the right gauge, I guess. Okay, well, we'll see. All right, so now you don't do this unless you have a Floyd Rose, but if you do, and you do, what you want to do is cut off the ball end. What that's there for is like typical strap bridges like your other one. This has to keep it in there from the back. That's what anchors it. In the case of a Floyd Rose, you don't need that, and you can't use it. Now, some people, to make things easier, they'll just thread this in the top. I don't like doing that, so I just cut it off. Use some wire cutters. Scissors will work, but I'm sure y'all have wire cutters. And just cut it off at the right spot. And here's the thing. Sometimes they'll have this little bit of winding that looks different. Let me show you real quick. Yeah, so look, if you can see, there you go. See that little bit of stuff right there that doesn't look like the rest of the string? Make sure wherever you cut it is beyond that, so that all you're using is string that's supposed to be used. It's pretty self-explanatory, but it's just something, you know, just figured I'd say. You might not think about it. So yeah, now we got that cut off. Should be good to go, hopefully. All right. How does this is not the right gauge. All right. So I guess I'm not tuning to drop. Anyway, this will work. So, I had forgotten I didn't order my other string gauge for drops. I was using an old one that I thought was the same gauge, and it's not. So anyway, yeah, back to this point. Cut off that winding. There you go. Pretty easy. All right, now, check this out. So, you can see right there, the one that's got no string. We've loosened this black thing. Now what we're going to do is thread this right there. Just put it in there and make sure it's like straight, like right in the middle. Yeah. So you don't want it. I hope you can see that from the angle. Can you see that? Oh, I hope so. You don't want it on the side. You want it like right. You don't want it sitting over there, and you want it right in the middle so that it can go through the saddle. The saddle is this little thing right there. And I hope to God you can actually see this. Probably can. you want it to go completely evenly. See how all the rest of them are right in the middle of the saddle? You don't want it like hanging over the side. It can, you know, it's just, you just want it as neat as you can be. You know, there's certain reasons for that. But also, I'm not a freaking physicist. I don't design this shit. Just to me makes the most sense for it to be the neatest it can be. Sitting through that, probably get the best resonance and clarity out of the guitar. So anyway, yeah. Okay, so you throw it in there, get it all the way down in there. Don't, you know, make sure it's anchored in, like touching the bottom of the metal part there. And then you hold it in there and you keep it steady. And the thickest strings are the easiest. When you get to the thinner ones, it's a little hard. And then you just tighten this back up. This one right here in the back. See that? You just tighten it back up. And keep it where it is. All right, a little closer. And then get it tight. Just like the locking nut, when you tighten it back down, you don't want to be like literally killing yourself tightening it. But especially these, if you don't tighten them enough, obviously the string can pop the frick out. Because it's what holds the string in. I've had that happen to me before. So I get them pretty tight. But again, you don't have to be like ridiculous about it because you'll strip it. And you'll get the muscle memory with it. So anyway, once you've done that, you move up here. Put it on the little slot in the locking nut that it goes to. Line up your tuner hole so where the pointer will just go right in, so it's like, you know, straight. Whatever the hole is just straight through. And then you back this up and you put it in there. All right. And then on a Floyd Rose, since there's a locking nut, all you gotta do is just pull it like probably about as, well, I would just say pull it like a little bit back, like a 2 fingers worth back. Like set your fingers like this. 2 fingers, mark where that is, maybe 3 with your thumb, and then move it all the way back. Because you still want it to, even though the tuners aren't really doing anything, you still want a little bit on them. You don't want it to be like one wind, because then that's just, something might come loose. And then once you're there, you just hold it in place and you just tighten. And the nice thing about Floyd Rose is, again, your winds at the top don't have to be perfect at all. Still always better practice to do it, but you don't have to be because they don't really matter. What matters is the locking nut. And then you just use your winder or, you know, your fingers if you need to do that. Just tighten it up. And then get it close. It doesn't have to be perfect because everything's gonna move. You get everything perfect once all the strings are on there. So basically, that's the first part of this. That's how you get one string on, and you do the same exact thing for the rest of the strings. And I'm gonna finish stringing this up, and then I'm gonna send you another video for the end of the process. Probably, I might not, but I feel like I've done this a lot of times, so I don't always remember every single thing. But getting everything back totally in tune, I'll send you another shorter video about how to do that. What I just did, you just do it across all strings. There you go.